But we've got more important things to think about right now, to be brutally honest. Oh.
Welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we're going to be looking at all the best bits of each season of Clarkson's farm.
Look at the ecological work I'm doing here.
Might want to drop the topper down, it might help a little bit.
First off, we'll start at the beginning, Season 1. Number 10, The Shard. Clarkson enlists his dependable farmhand Caleb to take a load of freshly grown wasabi into London and find a Japanese restaurant to flog it to.
I think we've got the jobs a little bit wrong today.
Go to London, sell wasabi, don't take less than £300, and I'll see you back here tonight.
Over the course of the show, we've learned that Caleb's actually never been beyond the village and has never stepped foot in the nation's capital city, so he's out of his depth on the ride down.
I don't understand, we don't keep telling me to turn left.
Turn right into Grosvenor Place.
What are you beeping me at?
But in the end, far from being bowled over by everything London has to offer, Caleb's ultimately unimpressed. He even visits a restaurant in the Shard, the UK's tallest building, and tells his mum just how little he thinks of it.
I'm up the Shard. Ever heard of it? It's like a big building in London, it's not very good, like 1,000 feet up in the air.
Number 9, Shouting.
Is that not good enough for you, that mess you've done there, and you had to do another mess
Yeah,
up there?
but Sam Mendes called, he's thinking of doing 1918.
What was wrong with that mess? Why did you have to do a new mess?
While trying to construct some wetlands, Clarkson finally gets tired of everybody taking out their frustrations on him and wants to know why everybody's always shouting.
Why does everybody shout at me all the time? Literally, I get up in the morning and people shout at me.
In this case, they were shouting at him for absolutely destroying a huge portion of his own land by being incredibly reckless with a digger during poor weather.
This is not wilding. That's damage. You know, you've got to stop doing it.
And other times, it's for spending too much money, not getting his paperwork in order quickly enough, or trying to cut corners with ridiculous antics, like using a drone as a sheepdog because he doesn't want to pay a shepherd at first.
It flies around, herds the sheep, barking at them. They think it's an airborne dog.
Number 8, No Storage Room. It's finally the moment of truth, as a whole year has passed, and now it's time for Clarkson to reap what he's sown.
About 40 or 50 tons of rape still to go. So where do I put the barley?
After spending a few days harvesting rapeseed, poor weather means that it's too moist to harvest anymore, so attention turns to the barley instead. Except he hasn't thought through where he's gonna put all the barley because he's only got one barn and it's nowhere near big enough for his crops.
You can't store it, you'll have to just literally dump it up there and then sell it straight away.
What, today?
He can't mix the rape and the barley together, so instead, he needs to try and shift a large quantity of barley in one day. And he can't even do that right, because he doesn't order anywhere near enough lorries.
You do not listen. You switch off. Probably switch off now, you don't even know what I'm saying now, probably.
Number 7, Sheep Auction.
I went to a nearby market to buy stock, and immediately there was a problem.
Early on in the series, Clarkson decides he's going to try his hand at sheep farming so that he can keep the grass down in his fields. The first step in this process is, of course, going to buy some sheep.
I know how my mum felt when she was trying to buy a car. Don't they all look exactly the same? Or my dad, when he was listening to pop music.
Like everybody without a background in agriculture, he's baffled by the different breeds of sheep and which one he should get. He's told that North Country mules are easy, but it doesn't seem that way at first. There's not only the inscrutable accent of the auctioneer to contend with, but also the distressed sheep, one of which actually headbutts somebody in the audience at the auction.
Oh!
It's a dramatic way to get introduced to livestock, that's for sure.
By nodding occasionally, I seem to be buying stuff.
133, 134, 134, 135.
And I was.
Number 6, Electric Shock.
I cannot wait to eat them. I cannot wait.
It turns out that the stone walls are too low, and the sheep will just jump over them and escape, so Jeremy needs to get himself an electric fence to keep them penned in. However, setting up an electric fence is easier said than done. First, he has to buy the fence, and then trail it around the field's boundaries himself, and then it doesn't even work right away. He finds out when he tests it.
Oh, gug, gug. Oh, oh. You bastard!
Not satisfied to be the only person on the farm to suffer a shock, when he does get it running, he also convinces Lisa to test it as well with a piece of grass.
Oh yeah. Get on.
Number 5, caravans.
And I get on really well with them because I've always been incredibly nice
Yeah,
about
all
caravans.
about caravans, yeah, brilliant.
I've always said really kind things.
It is a truth universally acknowledged that Jeremy Clarkson hates caravans, along with the other members of the Grand Tour trio. So things were bound to get a little uncomfortable when he needed to borrow the electricity supply of the nearby caravan park to get his farm shop up and running. He has to be on his best behavior and strike a deal which involves him becoming the public face of the caravan park in exchange for power.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Clarkson, and as I've always said, you can't beat a caravan holiday.
We thought we'd never see the day that Clarkson goes on record to endorse some caravans, and it was certainly a sight to behold.
So come on, beat those Brexit blues and take your holiday this year in a good old British field. You won't regret it.
Number 4, stuck.
Right, this is a complete job.
Clarkson's penchant for the most powerful way to do anything comes back to bite him when he tries to make a wetland on his property. He wrangles a digger and takes it down to where he wants to build a pond, but the ground is far too wet.
I'm not touching anything and I'm just moving down. Oh, shit.
Not only does he destroy much of the land, but he also gets stuck and can't get the digger out again. Caleb arrives to help, but it's all to no avail. They have to leave and return the following day, this time with 3 tractors, all pulling each other to get free of the ditch. And then he gets an unsympathetic telling off from Charlie for making such a mess.
We're making an omelette, and some eggs have been broken.
Number 3, interviewing the village.
Put them in the farm shop. Except the farm shop's not built, and I haven't got planning permission.
Initially, Jeremy's request for permission to build a farm shop is denied by the village, which assumes it's going to cause chaos and will harm local businesses.
The village has objected to my, farm shop plan.
Amazon's camera crew ventured into Chadlington to talk with the villagers themselves, and it turns out they've really got a bone to pick with Clarkson. They don't like the havoc he's wreaked in his Grand Tour antics, like blowing stuff up and driving fast, gas-guzzling supercars.
It's a little old-fashioned village.
It's understandable since Clarkson certainly isn't everybody's cup of tea, but still funny to see the villagers tear him a new one in the talking heads.
And we never know what Jeremy's going to do next.
I mean, he blew up his house.
And then the farm shop attracts far more customers than anyone can handle. Number 2, kicked by a sheep.
He said the sheep were rubbing themselves on the hen houses because they were hot and itchy, which meant it was time to shear them.
It's summer and the sheep are getting too hot, which means it's time to shear them. Another aspect of sheep farming Clarkson's not yet done. Once again, he has Kevin from the NSA and his trusty shepherd Ellen to help him, who proves herself to be a sheep shearer extraordinaire, as you'd expect from a shepherd.
I want to have a go at that. Can I do the next one?
Clarkson, on the other hand, is nothing of the sort, and gets kicked between the legs by an upset sheep on his very first attempt at shearing.
I'm gonna get kicked. Oh, it's got me in the testes. Oh, that's it. Right.
In fairness, wrestling and shearing an aggravated sheep isn't for the faint of heart. Hopefully, he'll one day get the hang of it.
Now we've got a relaxed relationship going on. Whoa!
Number 1, big tractor.
Having finished my test drive, I made a decision and bought this.
Because this is Jeremy Clarkson, he can't settle for a small, sensible tractor. He has to buy the biggest tractor he can possibly find, which turns out to be an enormous Lamborghini. The Lambo gets him into all kinds of scrapes during the show. It's extremely complicated, all the menus are written entirely in German, and it's also not compatible with British farm equipment at the beginning, since it has a German hitch.
It's alright, Google Translate. Page not found.
He has to get it modified so that it can actually attach the right machines to it and do its job. And then, in the last episode, everything comes full circle. His huge tractor ends up blocking the roads of Chipping Norton.
Fully aware that having complained for years about tractors holding up traffic, I was now in a tractor holding up traffic.
Next, of course, is Season 2.
Number 10. Saving Pepper. We already saw Jeremy get attached to a struggling lamb in Series 1, though that ended very sadly. But then he got attached to one of his new cows, Pepper, the white one, after the daughter of the farmers he bought her from made him promise to look after her.
What did you say to me about Pepper? You said I got to look after Pepper, didn't you? Exactly, and Pepper is having a great time.
By the end of the series, however, Pepper hasn't been able to get pregnant, either artificially or with a bull the farm hires.
So far, the bull had managed a bit of drinks party chat. But that was it.
This means they only have one option to make any money from Pepper: send her to slaughter and sell the meat. It's touch and go for a moment, but eventually Jeremy decides Pepper is more important than turning a profit.
Lisa, we've got a pet cow.
Number 9. Chili tasting. Jeremy decides that this year on the farm, he wants to start growing chilies. Chilies are relatively easy crops and extremely useful in cooking. But first, he needs to decide exactly which varieties he wants to plant. How does he do that? By taste testing them, of course.
Naga.
Naga. You know, you've got to chew it 10 times before you swallow it, otherwise it burns your stomach.
He struggles to get the chilies down, and then turns to some professionals to cook them. But the fumes from the chilies are so powerful
I'm 10 feet away from them. Oh my giddy aunt.
that everybody in the kitchen can't stop coughing. They're trying to talk to each other, but the smell is just too potent.
Now he's
How many polls do you get through in a year? Let's bring it.
He's very good.
Number 8. Bird flu.
So how do we stop this lot getting?
We will have to shut the birds in.
What, really?
Generally, bird flu is no laughing matter, and during filming of Season 2, the entire UK was gripped by one of the worst outbreaks in history. But you can find humour anywhere, and when Jeremy's told he needs to bring his flock of chickens indoors to stop the disease from spreading, they come up with some creative solutions to enrich the chickens' lives.
There's ways that you can make their lives more enjoyable inside.
This includes playing them music and audiobooks over the speakers, including, at one point, some racy erotic literature.
No, you're being silly.
No, at home, Cackleberry Farm, every shed has a radio. Have you got any audiobooks that we could play them? They love it.
If anything's going to keep you entertained while you're isolating for months, it's that. And we're sure the Diddley Squat chickens were far from bored. Number 7. Tricking the council. Much of Series 2 is preoccupied with Jeremy's quest to build a restaurant on Diddley Squat. A step up from the notorious farm shop, the restaurant would be a cooperative between Diddley Squat and many other local farms, who are being run out of business.
Hold on, whoa, that barn over there.
Yeah, the barn in the middle of the field.
We don't need planning permission.
No.
But the council blocks Jeremy at every turn, until he gets the idea to convert an existing derelict barn, which wouldn't need planning permission.
We will then need to go hell for leather to get the restaurant built, fitted, and serving food within 2 days.
To pull it off, they need to send an email to the council and then get everything built before the council can object, which they estimate will take about 2 days. It's an exhaustive operation, but they pull it off, and the restaurant is running with farm-to-table produce just in time.
I kept pinching myself that we'd actually done it. That we'd opened a restaurant in the face of such a relentless barrage of opposition.
Number 6. Beer tasting.
Right, is this it?
Yes.
It's a nice beer.
Jeremy's been growing barley on Diddley Squat and wants a local brewer to turn that barley into a unique Cotswolds-themed beer. This, of course, entails a large amount of beer tasting, just to make sure the flavour is exactly right.
We've chosen some quite interesting hops. And one has melon-type characteristics.
He downs pint after pint of fresh beer while completely ignoring the brewer explaining to him what he's done. At the end of it all, Clarkson is too drunk to drive back to the farm, meaning the show's assistant director has to step in.
It's quite good fun developing your own beer.
Yeah.
A little bit of... He says he can tweak it, that's what brewers do.
The drinking doesn't stop when Jeremy is back, however, as he then invites Caleb and Gerald round, and they blast through a whole case of beer samples. Number 5. Carving.
Focusing on the job in hand, I headed to the cow department, where I was amazed to find exactly what I was looking for.
The cows are ready to give birth, and because they're supposed to be making a TV show, Jeremy wants to get a birth on film. Unfortunately, the heifers keep calving without warning, meaning that if they do want to film it, they've got to find a solution.
Oh, heavens. No, I don't believe I'm seeing this.
This turns out to be a device Jeremy buys from a shop that gets attached to the cow's tail and then sends a text message when it's going to calve. It's amazing what you can do with technology these days.
So what you do is you pop it on the animal's tail, and then when it's about to give birth, you get a text message from this little machine.
And the techie solutions to carving didn't stop there, as the vet later had to lend a helping hand, which involved extracting a calf using a wrench, which YouTube won't let us show you. Number 4. Free clothes.
Or that's local, that's fine, this is all local, this is all local, this is all local.
The farm shop's been having trouble since the beginning, with Lisa stocking things that aren't from the farm, or from a 16-mile radius. It was pineapples back in season 1, now it's coffee beans, and far more egregiously, farm-branded clothes produced far overseas. They get numerous warnings from the council over this, and then decide to take advantage of some loopholes to shift the stock.
We don't sell t-shirts, we're giving them away for free. Oh. But if you'd like to buy a Brussels sprout for £20, I can give you a free t-shirt.
Lisa tells customers she can't sell them a t-shirt, but she can sell them an outrageously expensive vegetable that, believe it or not, comes with a t-shirt or a hat for free.
Yeah, what type of potato would you like? I've got the potato with the flame.
Number 3. Shrew.
Oh my God!
What?
It's a little shrew or something.
Oh, there he is. Oh, wow.
They've got to get the tractor out ASAP, but unfortunately, a rogue shrew has gotten into the machinery.
You're not frightened of mice.
I don't like rats and mice.
It's not a rat, it's
Can
a
you
rat.
finish them off, please?
I'm not going to finish him off.
They eventually get it out by sliding a hose down the tube it's hiding in, only for it to run straight underneath the wheel of Clarkson's infamous monster tractor.
There he goes. Meow. Mr. Mouse.
He's underneath your wheel.
He's got to move the tractor out of the way without accidentally reversing a little, which is easier said than done. In the end, the wheel rolls backwards, and he and Caleb fear the worst, only for the shrew to miraculously survive and go running off to safety.
He lives!
Number 2. Crisps.
So, here are our potatoes.
Rinse them or wash them?
Just rinse them.
In the first series, the potatoes caused a lot of trouble. Jeremy had far too many of them, and he wasn't able to shift them in time, even resorting to giving them away. In Series 2, he was determined to not have that problem, and decided that crisps were the solution. He brought in a makeshift chip kitchen in a storage container, and got to work slicing potatoes with disastrous results.
Look.
Yeah.
So you go down like this, but your fingers are there. If you get them too low, look. Can you imagine how easily you could take a finger? Ah!
While trying to demonstrate how to use a slicer without cutting your fingers off, he only went and did just that.
Since no one would want to eat thumb-flavoured crisps, I was bandaged up and nagged out of the door by Lisa.
We won't show you the injury, but it was nasty, pulling a chunk out of his thumb and leading to emergency plastic surgery to fix the wound that evening. Number 1. Loose cows.
Now it's through the fence.
The cows are out!
Series 1 was all about sheep, but after they proved to be far too much work that resulted in a net loss, Jeremy ditched the sheep in favour of a small herd of cows.
No, stop it. Stop it.
But cows aren't easy either, and more than once they proved themselves to be capable escape artists. It took a while for Jeremy to get the security of the field just right to stop them knocking down the fences and escaping, and they're eventually moved into another barn for the winter.
Down you go. Down you go. No. Oh.
But one cow just doesn't want to go inside and needs to be tired out so it will go in. Who knew cows were so good at climbing?
Oh my God, one of them's a mountaineer. It's Chris Bonington the cow.
And finally, here's the funniest parts of Season 3. Number 10, blackberries.
The whole wall is moving. We're going to be harvesting a wall if you're not careful here.
Jeremy's first innovation of the new year is to farm the blackberries that grow naturally in the bushes and woodlands. Initially, he pulls a classic Clarkson move by borrowing the most expensive piece of equipment he can find to do this for him, only for it to go horribly wrong when he encounters a wall.
This wall does not stop.
His next idea was to use his Henry Hoover to suck up the blackberries, which works a treat, miraculously only picking the ripe ones.
Now we move to the other side of the vehicle where we find the vacuum cleaner. Simply apply the vacuum cleaner to the blackberry.
Charlie's on hand to bring him back down to earth, however, when it turns out he hasn't done any food hygiene tests, nor has he even weighed the blackberries.
How much is in there?
Well, that many.
No, but how many?
I don't know.
You got to measure it.
Still, at over £3 a jar with almost no upfront costs, the blackberries were a boon. Number 9, when Andy met Caleb. Electronic musician and DJ Andy Cato also has a passion for farming, specifically regenerative farming.
That's pissing me off seeing him in there.
He approaches Jeremy with a business opportunity. He'll help farm the land using his techniques, and Jeremy will sell the produce to him directly, which can then be passed on to top retailers.
He's probably on, I don't know, boys' land or something. This is man's land.
But Caleb isn't happy to see somebody else planting in his fields. Andy is calm and relaxed, while Caleb grills him, finding faults in everything he's doing, from the drill he uses to how he plans to harvest the 2 different types of crops he's planting, wheat and beans.
You're planting wheat
and beans.
How do you harvest it and not lose anything out the back?
You just set it so you're not losing anything out the back.
Eventually, Caleb is satisfied, despite Jeremy going over his head in his new farm manager role.
Next question then. Was you in a band?
I was in a band.
I can tell.
Because?
Because you've left your tractor running at £1 a litre.
Number 8, dam busters. While working on one of the farm's lakes, things only go from bad to worse. First is the revelation that the lake is full of invasive crayfish Jeremy isn't allowed to sell in the farm shop. And then there's his accidental destruction of the dam with his newest toy.
However, despite the terrible damage I've caused over there, I have... Ow!
It's up to him and Caleb to rebuild the dam, and they just can't agree on what they're doing.
No, leave those. We're going to need them to build on top of.
Yeah, we're going to do it there, look.
No, please stop interfering.
They're throwing rocks at each other, using chainsaws recklessly, and then getting a stern dressing down from Charlie for how they weren't taking health and safety seriously enough.
Don't worry, Caleb, I'm on my way to rescue you from your own incompetence.
He also didn't notify the council that there was a potential flood risk with what he was doing.
How long has this taken to create this mess?
Number 7, nettles and mustard.
Chilled nettle soup.
Oh, wow.
Another plan of Jeremy's, much like the blackberry jam, is to start selling nettle soup in the farm shop. However, costs quickly stack up, as he ends up having to hire people to pick and clean the nettles for him. He initially wants to sell tubs of nettle soup dubbed Woodland Juice for £5 a pop, only to have to bump the price to 10 to make any money at all.
You're going to have to take a loss on that.
I'm taking a loss.
Well, then they won't sell it all, so work it out.
Lisa, however, isn't happy, telling Jeremy that nobody will buy it at that price.
He just brings me these soups with his idiot face on them, charges a tenner and says sell them.
Wouldn't you know it? She's right. She was right again when it came to Jeremy's mustard, with his mustard plants also yielding less than he thought, and he wanted to charge a fortune for the jars.
£6. £7 in Delsford.
It's quite small, okay.
Number 6, hovercraft.
Well, as you know, I love hovercrafts.
In an attempt to spray fertilizer on the fields faster, Jeremy decides to invest in a hovercraft.
But effectively, you've no braking and no steering.
It's fast, but it unsurprisingly turns out to be a big waste of time and money, especially after he spends so long teaching Caleb how to drive a hovercraft as opposed to a tractor, which isn't easy.
Is that it?
Oh, I'm empty.
And how big's this field?
20 acres.
It turns out that the tanks on the hovercraft are way too small, and Caleb estimates it will take 25 complete refills and many hours to eventually cover the entire field. All while he has to wear a protective suit because the fertilizer is so hazardous.
Can you please undress me?
Number 5. Whitehall. In May 2023, Caleb and Charlie headed into London for the Fork to Farm Summit, an event organised by the government so that it could learn how to serve and promote Britain's farming and agricultural industries.
That would be a great place to start. I would definitely go, wait, hello Mr. President, how are you, Ricky?
Come and see me on the weekend.
You're not going to be Prime Minister next time.
As a result, Caleb was sent to talk to Rishi Sunak about the industry. But as with Caleb's first trip to London, this one was also hilariously bizarre, as Charlie had to explain to him exactly what Whitehall is and how the government works.
If you knock that loud again, I'll throw you out.
Say that again?
Don't knock so loud.
Sorry, we're farming.
I don't care.
When he met Sunak, he complimented his hair.
I'm very well, thanks.
You've got lovely hair.
Me?
Yes. That's good.
Had you heard otherwise?
No,
it was the general comment.
But he was a stellar advocate for young farmers like himself, explaining how different farming is from other jobs.
You know, farming's not a job. It's a way of life. Yeah. That is it.
Number 4. Pork markets.
In December, I'll be in Beijing, opening up new pork markets.
Inspired by a viral speech from none other than Liz Truss, or shortest-lived Prime Minister on record, who didn't die in office, Jeremy decides that his new livestock project is going to be pigs.
Actually, I'm going to get on it now. I'm on it. I'm going to find a pig farm and I'm going to get some pigs. Piggly squat pork. Come on!
As with the cows and sheeps, he wants to breed them, though Charlie advises to just buy and fatten up the piglets and not bother with the breeding side. While he does buy some piglets, he also can't resist the temptation to breed, and gets a boar and some sows too.
He's going to porker. He's on already.
The drama continues when the boar tries to mate with the wrong pig, and a jealous sow vomits in Jeremy's pockets. Nice.
What the hell? The hell is that? Has one of the pigs been sick in my pocket?
Number 3. Conflict of interest.
Hello.
What are you doing here?
It's, I look after the client here as well.
What? It was you?
Jeremy's got some goats now and decides that the best way to make money on them is to let other farmers hire his goats to clear all their weeds and brambles. But there's an issue.
So
how are we going to negotiate a price then?
I do realise there's a slight conflict.
Slight?
When he arrives at the neighbouring farm to negotiate with the land agent, he finds that the agent is none other than Charlie Island. Charlie's trying to get the best deal for both Jeremy and his other clients.
How about we call it 0?
No, not 0. Climb over this fence.
Every time Charlie crosses the fence, he flip-flops on whose interests he's representing as Jeremy tries to negotiate his goat rental fee.
So how much should he be paying me?
He should be paying, you know, 5 or 6 pence a day per goat.
Eventually, they get it all cleared up and the goats have plenty of thorns to eat.
£121.
Done.
Number 2. Mushrooms. Jeremy gets the bright idea to start growing mushrooms in a repurposed Second World War bunker on the farm.
Holy moly! Look at those!
He's primarily growing grey oysters, but also some bags of lion's mane. However, the mushrooms soon become arguably more trouble than they're worth.
Look at this. How many we've got? Thousands.
Mushrooms are easy to grow, almost too easy, and very quickly, Jeremy's got mushrooms on top of mushrooms, and there aren't enough people in all of Oxfordshire to buy them from him.
It's like a sponge that's mated with a cauliflower.
Though Lisa schemes to make powder from the lion's mane, they've still got an astronomical amount, with the show's crew being fed mushrooms for lunch every day for weeks.
Oh my giddy aunt. Look in there.
Then when the next mushroom crop goes moldy, he's almost sick in his mask. Number 1. Jeremy loses.
Hello.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi, how are you?
Just do my numbers.
That's very good.
For the entire series, there's been a competition between Caleb, now farm manager, and Jeremy. Caleb's farming traditionally, Jeremy's farming on his thus far unfarmed woodlands. They totted up the costs and revenue to put their profits head to head.
We haven't lost money. That's important.
He's made a profit.
I've made a profit.
Despite all of Jeremy's schemes with the nettles, the honey, the mushrooms, the jam, and all the livestock, Caleb came out ahead, beating him as they managed to pull together 70 grand in profits.
£60,165. We are going to...
60,000.
165.
165. That looks like a good round number, doesn't it there? Look at it.
After the previous 2 years of struggling to do so much as break even, it was a breath of fresh air. Even if Charlie did insist that all the money immediately went to next year's expenses. But it's always good to see Caleb come out ahead.
Well, there you go.
Woo!
Well done.
Let us know in the comments below if you've ever been to Diddley Squat and what you bought.
Can we edit this out?
Which Clarkson's Farm season do you think has been the funniest so far? Let us know in those comments below.
People will miss me after a while.
I wouldn't.